The Kaaba, a cube-shaped structure located in the center of the Masjid al-Haram Mosque in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, is the most sacred site in Islam. While its significance is firmly established within Islamic theology and tradition, the question of its mention or relevance in the Bible is more complex. This document explores the connections, historical context, and theological implications of the Kaaba as related to biblical texts and traditions. Before we start, we'd like to ask for your support. If you enjoy our video, please hit the like button. This will help us reach more people and create content for you. Now let's get started with today's video. Understanding the Kaaba in Islam. In Islamic belief, the Kaaba was originally built by the Prophet Ibrahim, and his son Ismail, as a house dedicated to the worship of the one true God, Allah. Muslims believe that over time, the Kaaba became corrupted by idol worship, which the Prophet Muhammad later eradicated, restoring the Kaaba to its original purpose. The site remains the focal point of Muslim prayer and pilgrimage, symbolizing unity and submission to God. The Bible's perspective on Abraham and Ishmael. The Bible does not explicitly mention the Kaaba. However, to understand its possible connections, one must examine the biblical accounts of Abraham and Ishmael, figures central to both Judeo-Christian and Islamic traditions. Abraham, the patriarch of monotheism. Abraham, or Abram, is a foundational figure in the Bible, revered as the patriarch of the Israelites and a pioneer of monotheism. The Bible recounts his covenant with God in Genesis 12-17, wherein God promises Abraham that he will become the father of many nations. This covenant establishes Abraham's lineage through Isaac as central to the biblical narrative. Ishmael, Abraham's firstborn. Ishmael, Abraham's son with Hagar, Sarah's Egyptian maidservant, plays a significant role in the Bible's narrative. Genesis 16 verses 11-12 describes an angel's prophecy about Ishmael. The angel of the Lord also said to her, "You are now pregnant, and you will give birth to a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery. He will be a wild donkey of a man. His hand will be against everyone and everyone's hand against him, and he will live in hostility toward all his brothers." Genesis 21 verses 8-21 further describes Ishmael's departure from Abraham's household after Isaac's birth. Ishmael and Hagar settle in the wilderness of Paran, which is often associated with the Arabian Peninsula. While the Bible does not follow Ishmael's lineage in detail, Islamic tradition identifies him as an ancestor of the Prophet Muhammad and central to the story of the Kaaba's construction. Does the Bible mention the Kaaba? Although the Bible does not directly reference the Kaaba, certain passages and themes may indirectly relate to it through shared figures and traditions. Below are several areas of exploration. 1. The wilderness of Paran. The Bible states that Ishmael settled in the wilderness of Paran, Genesis 21 verse 21. While the exact location of Paran is debated, many scholars associate it with the Arabian Peninsula, where Mecca is situated. Islamic tradition connects Ishmael's life in this region to the origins of the Kaaba, suggesting a shared geographical and historical context. 2. Abraham's role as a builder. The Bible does not mention Abraham constructing a structure like the Kaaba. However, Genesis 12 verses 7-8 and 13:3-4 describe Abraham building altars to worship God. These actions align with the broader theme of Abraham as a figure dedicated to establishing worship of the one true God. In Islamic tradition, this concept is extended to include the building of the Kaaba alongside Ishmael. 3. Worship and pilgrimage. Both the Bible and the Quran emphasize the importance of worship and pilgrimage. The Bible's descriptions of altars and sacred spaces, such as the tabernacle and later the temple in Jerusalem, share thematic similarities with the Kaaba as a central place of worship. For example, Deuteronomy 12 verses 5-7 speaks of seeking the place the Lord your God will choose for worship, which echoes the idea of sacred, divinely ordained spaces. Theological and historical connections. While the Bible and Islamic tradition offer different narratives about Abraham and Ishmael, their shared themes provide a basis for understanding the Kaaba's significance in a broader theological context. Monotheism and worship. Both the Bible and Islamic tradition emphasize monotheism, with Abraham as a central figure. The Kaaba's purpose as a house of monotheistic worship aligns with the biblical portrayal of Abraham's mission to spread the worship of the one true God. Descendants of Ishmael. The Bible's account of Ishmael's descendants, Genesis 25 verses 12 to 18, highlights their growth into a great nation. While the Bible does not trace these descendants' connection to Mecca or the Kaaba, Islamic tradition fills this gap by linking Ishmael to the early history of the Arabian Peninsula and the Kaaba. Pilgrimage and sacred sites. The concept of pilgrimage is present in both traditions. The Bible mandates pilgrimage to Jerusalem for certain festivals, e.g., Exodus 23 verses 14 to 17, while Islam requires the Hajj pilgrimage to the Kaaba. These shared practices underscore the universal human desire for sacred spaces and communal worship. Differences in narrative focus. Despite these connections, significant differences exist between the Bible and Islamic tradition regarding the Kaaba. Lineage and covenant. The Bible emphasizes the covenant with Isaac as central to God's plan, while Islamic tradition highlights Ishmael's role in the lineage leading to Muhammad and the Kaaba. Geographical focus. The Bible's focus is on the land of Canaan, modern-day Israel/Palestine, as the Promised Land, whereas Islamic tradition centers on Mecca as a spiritual hub. Structural significance. The Bible does not mention any structure resembling the Kaaba. Its sacred architecture is focused on the tabernacle and the temple in Jerusalem. Conclusion. The Bible does not explicitly mention the Kaaba, nor does it provide direct evidence of its construction or significance. However, the shared figures of Abraham and Ishmael, along with themes of monotheism, worship, and sacred spaces, offer points of connection between the Bible and Islamic tradition. While the Kaaba's role is uniquely Islamic, its theological roots resonate with biblical themes, highlighting the intertwined heritage of the Abrahamic faiths. By examining these connections and distinctions, one gains a deeper understanding of how sacred spaces like the Kaaba reflect humanity's enduring quest for divine connection and worship. Please subscribe my YouTube channel. I hope you like this video. Thank you.